Hi guys, we have to talk about the red heifer because this is crazy. And if you have heard of this, awesome. And if you haven't, then brace yourself because we have a lot of interesting stuff to talk about. And it all starts right now. Okay. Um, I'm Ali Doucette, and I also always recommend my website, alidoucetteClasses.com, which is way cooler than my YouTube. Okay. Have you heard of the red heifer? It is a big deal, and it is actually one reason that Hamas attacked Israel. The precursor to the rebuilding of the temple in Jerusalem. This is considered a precursor. This is a crazier story than you realize. And this is going to be taking some serious steps forward between now and April 22nd of 2024. Like this story is going to, I don't know, the next step of this story is happening between now and April 22nd. So let's talk about it. This is a headline from CBS News from March 5th of earlier this year. What these red cows from Texas have to do with war and peace in the Middle East. This is from that same article. When Hamas spokesman Abu Ubaidah began a speech marking the 100th day of the war in Gaza, one confounding yet eye-opening proclamation escaped the headlines, listing the motives for the Palestinian militant group's October 7th massacre in Israel, which, side note, happened, of course, 1 week before the last eclipse portal, definitely in eclipse season, so crazy. Okay. He accused Jews of bringing red cows to the Holy Land. The cows he was talking about are red heifers, which now graze at a secure, undisclosed location in the Israeli-occupied West Bank. Some Jews and Christians believe they are the key to rebuilding the Jewish temple that once stood in Jerusalem and to beckoning the Messiah. Okay, so we have to talk about Jewish law for a minute. This is a picture of a red heifer I just found on Wikipedia. So this story starts with Jewish law. In Numbers 19 in the Old Testament, the children of Israel are commanded to find a red heifer without spot, wherein there is no blemish, and upon which never came a yoke. This red heifer is supposed to be sacrificed to the Lord, and there's like a lot of rules about it. But this is something very, very difficult to do because it is so hard to find a red heifer that actually meets all of the criteria here. So as one example of how hard it is to meet this criteria, they cannot have two black hairs. So literally, like I saw this video or sorry, a picture of this like rabbi with a magnifying glass, and they're literally going inch by inch of this whole animal, inspecting the color of each and every single hair, every hair. So this red heifer has to have been born naturally. So apparently cows can be born by C-section. I guess that makes sense, but like you can't sacrifice a C-section red heifer. It can never have mated ever, and it can never have worked. And what I was reading about this is that um like it cannot have worn a yoke, but it also cannot have had to do anything. So one rule that I was reading said that it cannot you cannot put anything on the cow. Like if you are holding a blanket, you can put a blanket on the cow to keep it warm, but if you're holding a blanket and you need to put the blanket down to pick up something else, you can't put the blanket on the cow, or the cow now qualifies as having worked and it no longer counts as this perfect red heifer. So, finding a heifer that meets this criteria is so hard. It has only been done 9 times in all of history. The first time was with Moses. Moses supervised it. And then the ninth time happened before Jesus was born. So it has been 2,000 years since an actual red heifer that is all red with no other colors and, is natural born, has never mated, has never worked, has met all these criteria. Like this has not happened in 2,000 years. And there is this belief that the temple at Jerusalem cannot be rebuilt until the 10th red heifer is sacrificed. And I think I mentioned this somewhere. Yeah, okay. So anyway, here we are. This is a picture of the red heifers, 3 out of the 5 that were originally taken over to the West Bank. So this happened last year, I think. Uh, there were 5 red heifers. One of them was disqualified, but 4 of them are still in the running for this. A Texas rancher helped create the cows. He's like this evangelical Christian that um, was just really interested in making sure that there was a heifer that could qualify for this sacrifice, because biblically speaking, there's this understanding that this has to happen before all the rest of the events can happen that is eventually going to usher in the second coming of Jesus Christ. So these are red Angus cows that have been specifically bred. Um, exactly to qualify for this sacrifice. So, according to the rules of the sacrifice, my understanding is that the cows have to be sacrificed when they are over 2 years old, but less than 3 years old. Because at 3 years old, they start I guess all the cows start to grow like white hairs and like hairs that disqualify them. And they must be sacrificed on a particular plot of land on the Mount of Olives. And Rabbi Yitzchak Mamo is the kind of brain behind all of this. So he purchased that land a few years ago. And um, okay, so the cows are like they're not quite 3 years old. And so that puts this timeline at right this minute. They have to sacrifice these cows between the Sabbath of the Red Heifer and Passover, which is happening on April 22nd of 2024. But uh, the Sabbath of the Red Heifer, I Googled it up. It's today. Hello, it's today, Friday, 29th March 2024. Um, which I don't know. I was just like, what? Serious? And and I guess it's like a yearly thing. I mean, like, look, that was it in 2021, 2022. So I will be honest, I was not familiar with this, but I guess it's a real thing that has been celebrated forever in preparation for Passover. And so basically, the timeline, I don't know, anytime between now and Passover, we may have the sacrifice of the red heifer. And um, okay, I didn't make a slide for this, but one thing that you might have seen, if you have seen a white, maybe I should just go find it for you. Nah, I won't. Okay. The white altar that looks like a big ramp. People are sharing that picture as the altar that's going to be used for the sacrifice, but that is not the altar. Okay. That is not the altar. Everything that I was finding was saying, oh my gosh, why are people saying that's the altar? It's not the altar. In real life, the altar is allegedly going to be built by hand the day of the sacrifice. And I guess all it takes is like enough rocks from the surrounding area to lift the bodies of the cows. Like the cows just can't touch the earth. I think that is the case. So the plan is not to use that big white ramp that you may have seen on the internet. That is not it. That is not made out of stone, and the altar must be made out of stone. So so they're planning to just build the altar when it's time and then unbuild it right after they complete the ceremony. So this is the timeline. They're going to sacrifice this heifer. And then that is like the remaining thing, I think, before prophetically speaking, they can rebuild the temple at Jerusalem. And this may, ignite World War III as prophesied. And, biblically speaking, all of the nations are supposed to turn against Israel. And I don't know. I think that we may see some really interesting stuff unfold. And of course, we also have to talk about how on the date of the lunar eclipse that just happened, Joe Biden and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu sank to a wartime low, with the US allowing passage of a Gaza ceasefire resolution at the United Nations and drawing a sharp rebuke from the Israeli leader. So a lot of interesting stuff going on, a lot of kind of prophetic adjacent stuff and straight up prophetic stuff happening, all to do with these eclipses, all to do with this red heifer, all to do with this crazy timeline of the Sabbath of the red heifer and Passover. And it's all lining up with this eclipse portal. So we are, in my opinion, on the cusp of prophecy being fulfilled, which leads to the question, does prophecy merely unfold or does it require intentionality towards fulfillment? And so I have to say that I was watching a bunch of videos today about all of this in preparation to make this video. And so I was watching about these people that this Temple Institute group, they like truly believe that if the Messiah is going to come, they have to make sure that the prophecies are fulfilled. So they're like going ahead and they're like, what are the prophecies that have to be fulfilled? And they're like trying to make it happen. And and I know I've mentioned this on my channel before, but I was thinking about it again, and I just kind of was praying as I was watching this YouTube video about it. And I said, okay, God, in my mind, I was like, okay, God, do prophecies just unfold naturally, or do people have to make them happen? And then this is real. This is like totally real, guys. And I'll have to pull it up because I messaged it to my assistants. I like could not believe it. Couldn't believe it. I asked that question and there was like one, 60-second minute. And then the next advertisement, it was some ad for something, but it said, life doesn't just happen. You have to go out and make it happen. And it's like a girl like jogging or like skateboarding or something, like living her active life because she's making it happen. But anyway, I was just like, boom, like, whoa, what? What? Life doesn't just happen. You have to go out and make it happen. And I thought of in Sunday school recently, we were talking about Jesus riding the donkey for Palm Sunday, right? And what I took away from that was that definitely Jesus knew he was fulfilling some prophecies when he was telling these different disciples to go and get him a donkey to ride into Jerusalem on. I don't know. As of right this moment, I'm thinking, okay, maybe people do have to sit down and look at the prophecies and make them happen. I don't know, but that is the philosophy of a bunch of different players that are up to some really interesting stuff right now, and we're going to see it unplay or play out in real time over the next about 3 weeks, which is just absolutely crazy. So anyway, stay tuned and don't forget to like and subscribe and all that. Please get on my email list if you're not on my email list. My channel, I talk about everything interesting on here, but my real life work is emotional healing because I feel like people get so stressed and scared about all this kind of stuff. And we can't afford to be like that. You cannot afford to be terrified. You just can't. You can't afford to be worried and nervous and have like nervous system dysregulation. We need to have our emotions and our hearts in tip-top shape for all the crazy stuff that's going to unfold. So that is what I have devoted my life to, is making healing as fast as possible, as effective as possible, as affordable as possible. So the vast majority of things on my website are available by donation. Like it's pick your own price point. And so, but my most important sessions are free. They're the foundational sessions. Go do them. They are so critical. And if you just do those sessions, you will be in such a much better place in your whole life. If all you do is those 4 free sessions in the foundational sessions, oh, please just do it. Okay. We're in this together. Here's the deal. Um, so I'm like, am I going to talk about yoga now? Yeah, I will. Okay. In yogic prophecy, so the yogis also believe that there will be 1,000 years of peace. And before that, there will be like a significant period of drama. And the understanding is that we're like right on the cusp of the high drama zone in yogic prophecy, which of course I always look at it and I'm like, oh my gosh, 1,000 years of peace. Like the yogis say it, like the Christians say it, like that's so interesting. I think it's a thing. But before the 1,000 years of peace, we get to have some little wars and rumors of wars. And in yogic prophecy, they say that it will be so grotesque and horrific that literally everybody will lose their mind unless they have done the healing work that they need to do to not go insane when they see the world fall apart. So sorry to like get all deep on you, I guess, but here we are. That is really what I'm all about, is insanity prevention, because I think we're going to see some crazy stuff and I don't think we need to be worried about it. I don't think we need to freak out about it. I think what we need to do is learn how to trust God every single step, every single step, every single moment, every single minute. We've just got to learn how to trust, how to listen, because God will guide us every single step that we take. And I mean that literally. I mean, literally, as you're walking across a room, the Spirit of God can tell you which steps to take. Years ago, so this is like a funny story. um, so I grew up in Gaithersburg, Maryland, and I lived there for my whole life. My older brother was severely disabled and I took care of him all day, every day, basically. Like I would go to school and come home and take care of him until he died when I was 25. And then after he died, I was invited to go to a lunch with all these other moms that I knew, and it was in the next town over, and I had never been to that town in my whole life. I never had been there because my whole life, I had just stayed in my one town taking care of my brother. I mean, like, I've been other places, but I hadn't been to the next town over. And this was in the days of Garmin. If you remember, you have to like plug it into your car, and it's like really clunky. And anyway, I said, okay, I'm going to go to this next town. I'm going to go meet with friends. It was a big deal. I hadn't done that ever. And I plugged in my Garmin and went to drive, and the Garmin died. And I was totally lost. I had no idea where I was. And I just said, okay, God, you're going to have to lead me. And so I just drove around. But as I did, I would just breathe and just feel the feelings of my body. And if my body kind of felt like, okay, it's time to turn left, then I would turn left. And if my body felt like, okay, it's time to keep going, I'd keep going. And if I felt like I needed to turn right, I would turn right. And you know what? It got me to Chick-fil-A. It got me there, and I got there. I was late, but I made it. And then I was able to find my way home following other people back to my own house. But I literally know that God can truly lead us like that. And he can do it literally, and he can do it symbolically as well. Like these mental steps that we take. I know that a lot of us, I mean, everybody's on their own spiritual journey and religious journey. And I like truly and fully honor that. I had somebody reach out. She's on a faith transition, and she said, oh, I didn't want to disappoint you that I'm leaving the faith that we used to share. Oh my God, you can't disappoint me. Like, I don't care. That's fine. Like, we're all on our own journey, and that's okay. Like, that's the point. And I really feel like if you're doing your best to connect with your own intuition and your body and with our creator, whatever your journey, however your journey unfolds, it's fine. Like, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. Okay. I think a lot of us fall into some traps of feeling like we have all the answers, or that even our religion has all the answers, when that's not true. God is the one with all the answers. And this is a way more complex story than any one 501c3 can, explain, right? I mean, that is my opinion. And I don't know. I think we fall into the trap of prematurely judging other people's spiritual journeys. Like, I think an appropriate time to decide on everybody's spiritual journey is probably at the end of the 1,000 years of peace that we're heading into. Okay, let's talk about this after the 1,000 years, where everybody is going to be doing a whole bunch of spiritual work. Let's reassess at that time. We don't need to lose our minds if people have faith transitions that we don't agree with. It's not a big deal. Like, it feels like a big deal, and we have 1,000 years to sort it out, and it's not a big deal. God has it under control. So we get to take our deep breaths and have really good boundaries and focus on our own faith and our own relationship with God, and trust that we're all being led, even when people that we love are being led in ways that we don't understand or we don't like. It's okay. We can just trust God. We can just trust God to handle it, because guess what? Has anybody ever had a real change of heart because someone else judged them enough into it? Like, no. I don't know. I know that sometimes we can feel like our hearts are breaking when people are making decisions that we disagree with, but I don't know. I just encourage us to consider that maybe instead of trying to force other people to change or hope that they change, instead we can just allow them to live their journey and just connect with God and trust that God has it under control. I hope that makes sense. Sorry if those are hard words. Sorry, guys. It's okay. Guess what? I also honor anything that you feel. You are allowed to feel however you feel about anything in your whole life. So let me just validate that. You're allowed to do that, and you should do that. And we all need to feel our feelings about everything that we feel. So anyway, all of that is to say, go to my website, allieduzekclasses.com, go sign up for the free offerings, and go do them this week in preparation for this upcoming eclipse. Seriously, they will change your life. They will change your life. They are going to change your life. Okay, that's it. Love you so much. I'm going to see you tomorrow, and we're going to keep an eye out, guys. We're going to see what happens with this red heifer. Okay, bye, guys.